Hi guys! Welcome back to the Storytime Society, where I read you fun little Reddit stories and we just have a good time, like a little sleepover vibe, and we hang out and then we chat together in the comments. So subscribe, like, comment, especially because you guys know that I love talking to you, and share with a friend or like a family member. I don't know. But we're going to try to make this short so that you guys, or at least the ones that hate this, can just get to the story time. But I do want to update you guys on my cruise because I just got back yesterday morning. It was really fun. It was a 3-day cruise. We just went to Key West, which I've never been to, and then Ocean Cay or Ocean Key. I don't know how you pronounce it, but they were pronouncing it Ocean Key, which is like MSC's private island or whatever, which I really wish that we would have went to at Nassau because I have been there before a few times and I really like it, and I wanted to like kind of be like in a different culture and just like, around like a nice little culture, walk around in like the streets and the shops and stuff and just get cultured. But it was really pretty. The island was really pretty, but it was just like very, very quaint. Not much going on. Obviously, like there were the excursions and stuff, which we didn't do. We did not wake up early enough to do that. We were just kind of like wanting to be on a relaxed vacation and not, I don't like go vacations. Like I don't like that. I like to relax. I like to not feel like so stressed and anxious that I need to like do all this stuff and just like relax and have a good time. So we like went to the beach and it was really beautiful. We walked around the island just for a little bit and took some pictures, and then we just got back on the boat after a couple of hours and had some lunch. Then we chilled like in our room. We had the little balcony room, so it was really nice. Like we could enjoy the views and stuff. I read a lot. I just finished my book, The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden, and let me know if you've ever read her books before. This was the first series that I've read, and apparently the third one just came out like yesterday, and I just finished this book like yesterday. But these books are so good. It's The Housemaid, and then the second one's The Housemaid's Secret. So good. I'm literally obsessing over Frida McFadden right now, and I'm going to read her books for a while now. Probably going to hyperfixate on them for a little bit, but yeah, they were really good. Yeah, so we had a really good time, and we had the drink package, so we were ordering every drink under the sun. We got pretty drunk on the second night, and yeah, we met a cute couple at our dinner that we were assigned to sit with at dinner, and they were from France and Norway, and they were like the same age as us. They had like the same kind of like age gap too, and we hung out with them. The second night, we were like getting them drinks and stuff because they didn't have the package, and it was really fun. We went to the casino and a comedy show, but yeah, highly recommend. MSC is like, it's a good cruise. It's definitely not the best, but it's like a good cruise for if you want to save money. But anyways, let's get into story time. Obviously, as always, grab your drink. Today I have a little latte just with a little bit of stevia in it, and I kind of like it's a shaken espresso vibe. I tried to like shake it up really nice. Ooh, it's strong. I definitely didn't put enough stevia in it, but it's actually good. Sometimes I like my coffee a little bit stronger than usual. But I hope I have some good stories for you guys. I saved a bunch today, actually, because I have not really been on Reddit at all this past weekend. But I have one that I haven't read that I really am interested in because the title is just insane. And I hope it's good, but it's like a screenshot, which is so annoying because it's like tiny text and I need to zoom in a lot. But the title of the first story is My Son-in-Law Asked Me to Be His Friends with Benefits While... Let me just start that over. Let's start on a good foot today because I don't want to be like mispronouncing everything and stopping in between every single sentence because it's so annoying when I do that. My son-in-law asked me to be his friends with benefit while my daughter is ill. Okay. Now let me press on the actual thing, which is literally the tiniest text I've ever seen. And this is a pretty long story, so let's... All right. I, 46 female, had my daughter, 30 female, Laura, when I was 16. We are very close. Her father was older, abusive, and it took a lot to remove him from our lives. When my daughter grew up, we became more like friends. I went back to college, and later she, too, doing the same major, only she went all the way to the PhD. I'm very proud of her. During that time, she met and married her now husband, male 43, and had their son, who I adore. I did not really like her husband initially, as he was my age group and not hers, but he won me over and has been devoted to my daughter and their child. About 18 months ago, my daughter started her new job, but was just wiped out every day. She put it down to just work, child, and life. But my normally high energy daughter was sleeping every chance she got. Then she had breathing difficulties and was rushed to the hospital, and we discovered that she had a clot on her lung. That was easily dealt with, but an underlying condition was found. She was very ill. The last year or so, it has been very tough. There has been numerous hospital stays, treatments, and my daughter has basically been moving from bed to sofa at home. Her husband has been amazing. He had to stay working full time, but was there with her otherwise every minute. I had my grandchild a lot, and we made it work. Then the last month, we finally got news that she has turned a corner a little, so to speak. She was slowly starting to improve, but there was still a long road ahead for her. Still, I felt like I exhaled for the first time since she got diagnosed. I had the weekend to myself last week and went out with some work colleagues. It was a lot of fun. Last Sunday, I literally did nothing but hung around my house, and it was wonderful. Sunday night, I was just locking up to head to bed when my son-in-law arrived. I got in a panic immediately, but he assured me that Laura was fine. Then he just burst into tears. He said he was worn out, worn down, and he was feeling lost. I did really feel sorry for him because he has been carrying so much on his shoulders. It's been tough watching our girl so unwell constantly. He then went on about how much he missed her touch, their intimacy, and just cuddling and lying together. I said they still did those things, and he said only for short periods, and it wasn't the same, and they hadn't had sex really since she got ill, just maybe twice. He saw I was getting a bit angry and said he understood he wasn't blaming Laura. Then he started to go on about how Laura and I looked more like sisters. Same body shape, same hair, same smile, same sense of humor. And that I looked at least 10 years younger than my age. Normally that's a compliment I'd like, but I had a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. He said if he had never met Laura, I'd be just his type. I just snapped at him to spit it out. What was he building up to? And then he asked if we could do friends with benefits until Laura was well again. He says she would never know, and it would be comfort for both of us. He said that I'd have as much to lose as him, so would ensure Laura would never find out. I was horrified, speechless, only for a minute, then asked him, was he serious? He said yes. I couldn't believe it. I told him I had way more to lose as she was my irreplaceable daughter, but apparently to him, she was easily replaced. He said that wasn't true, that he loved her with all his heart, and he was just trying to get through her illness. I was really angry. I asked him if he had already cheated on her, and he looked shocked and offended and then made things worse by saying, "No, I only want you." I told him it would never happen, ever, and if he did cheat on Laura, he would have been to deal with me. He just started sobbing again. I told him he needed to go to counseling and not have sex with his mother-in-law. He pleaded with me to not tell Laura, and he knows I can't as I'm afraid this would literally finish her. I threw him out and spent the whole night going back over the last few years, and if I had somehow led him on. I didn't. We were friendly and nothing more. Most of our interactions were around my grandson. I texted my daughter and told her I thought I had COVID, so I was just going to stay for a while in case I infected her. I'm not sick, just heart sick. I can't face my daughter. I can't stand the sight of him, and I miss my grandchild. My chest feels like tight all the time, and my throat constantly feels dry and closed. I don't know what to do, but all I do know is I can't tell my daughter. I want to pack her up and move her in with me, with my grandchild, and send him on his way, but I can't. I've got to keep this damn secret, and I don't know how I can or what to do. I can't confide in anyone in real life, so here I am. Edit, I'm sorry I'm not replying in the comments, but writing it all out appears to have opened the floodgates for me and I can't stop crying. My daughter is truly very ill and very weak. It's not cancer, but that's all I will say. I'm genuinely afraid for her and don't know if she could take this or not. I'm going to have to think more on this because I'm very uncertain on what to do for the best. Okay. I'm going to need to go and see if there are any updates to this story because I'm actually like shocked. Like jaw on the floor shocked. Like what the hell? The top comment says, this is a tough spot to be in. Her daughter is sick and she can't tell her right now. If her daughter dies and OP alienates her son-in-law, she could lose access to her grandkid, depending on whether grandparents' rights are a thing where she lives. I always say crisis reveals character. You think a good guy is a good man and then he does shit like this. I feel bad for everyone. I understand it's hard to deal with a sick spouse. I'm chronically ill myself, but that's no excuse to be a D-bag. The most horrific aspect is knowing you can't say anything without consequences to her health. But not saying anything leaves the daughter open to get hurt anyway, because if he's capable of going after the mother-in-law, I can only imagine he has already cheated or will do so soon, or even worse, just up and disappear from her daughter's life without a second thought. I agree with your take. I'm wondering if this guy just lost his mind temporarily. Would that be acceptable, excuse, and forgivable? I'm not married, so I don't know how I would feel if I were the daughter. If this guy came clean immediately and was distraught and didn't know what he was thinking, I think I'd understand. There's no way he thought OP would actually say yes. He got so overwhelmed and just broke. I don't know what I would do if I were either OP or the daughter. I hope I never have to know. I can see him breaking down, but I don't think he can be redeemed when he immediately went to she doesn't need to know and is just you because we would both have a lot to lose. That's not... I broke down and didn't know any better, but I've regained myself and feel ashamed. I thoroughly thought about it and I still want to go ahead and do it. No, I feel like breaking would be a short and almost incomprehensible muttering of sex. This seems extremely well thought out, so as a guy, I wouldn't be able to put this past him. That's genuinely bad, what he did. I mean, I guess, like, the best thing to do would be to just wait it out until... I guess this is what I would do. This is what I think is the best thing to do. Wait it out until she gets better because seems like she's improving from what OP said. And then, I mean, obviously it's like you don't want to risk like telling her even after she gets better because it could still affect her health a lot. But when she is getting better and like improved a lot, I feel like she has to know. Like, she has to know. She can't live the rest of her life with a man that wanted to be friends with benefits with her mom. That's just... no. That is absolutely insane. And I would not want to spend my dying... if she was to pass away, like, I would not want to spend my dying moments with this man. Ugh. It makes me lose hope. It really does. It makes me lose hope for men. Because in the worst time of your spouse's life, obviously it's hard on you, but imagine how hard it is on her dealing with an illness for so long, feeling so crappy, tired, so sick and ill, and she can't give you what you need in a relationship. But that's fine. Like, she can't. You are going to have to sacrifice some things and just wait it out until she gets better. And then your relationship will come out so much stronger on the opposite end because you were there for her. You took care of her and you sacrificed for her. Like, I just don't understand how he thinks that is the best solution. How about you just, like, wank off? Like, how about you just, like, you know, masturbate? I don't think you need to, like, hook up with her mother. Or, like, maybe you could buy, like, one of those dolls, like, with holes in them or something and just, like, pretend, because why do you need to take it this far? That's really honestly so concerning. And obviously, if he's willing to do that, he's definitely willing to do much, much worse. I'm sure he's already cheated, and like they just aren't in the situation where he can keep cheating with that person. So he's like, let me find someone that I can maybe consistently do this with, so I don't have to like cheat on her with a bunch of different people. All right, let's see. Let's see if I'm gonna go to her profile and see if like anything else has been posted, which it hasn't, unfortunately. It was only posted 2 days ago, so we will see if there's gonna be any updates. But that's actually so sad that that's what you're doing behind her back when she's like was almost on the brink of death. Okay. All right, let's read this. My fiance broke up with me because my parents have a non-conventional marriage. We've been together for 6 years. We've known each other for another 3 years before that, so 9 years total. We're getting married in February, or we were. I don't know anymore. We're visiting my parents to meet some more of my extended family so they get to know him before the wedding. My parents offered to host us, and we've been staying in my old room. I'm female 29, and he's male 32. We are staying with my parents. My fiance wanted to stay at a hotel, but I thought it would be fun to sleep in my old room and to be here with my mom and dad one last time under their roof before I become a married woman. My parents have been in a non-conventional marriage for a long time. It was a shock for me to learn about it, and I learned to cope with it. I'm not necessarily comfortable with their lifestyles, but I can't do anything about it. They basically go on dates with other people, spend time with other people, sleep with other people. I had to learn when I came home a few days earlier from a trip with a friend's family, and my father was sleeping next to another woman when I was 16. I freaked out then, and my parents had to explain to me it was all fine. So my fiance could not sleep last night and went outside for some fresh air because he's not used to sleeping away from our bed back home. He found my mom kissing another guy in my parents' foyer. So he freaked out, started yelling at her, came and woke me up, demanded I call my father and tell him he found my mom cheating on him. So my mom had to explain to my fiance about my parents' non-conventional marriage, but it didn't go well with him. And once it seemed like he is calming down and starts to accept what my mom was telling him, he figured out I knew about their marriage, and he started freaking out on me. He told me that he can't trust me anymore, that he was set up, that I insisted we stay with our parents so I can ease him into this idea, so I can enforce my parents' principles on our own marriage, and I simply can't get through to him. My fiance has been cheated on before. His parents have divorced because his mom cheated on his dad, and he doesn't have a good relationship with her. He could barely stomach the idea of having her come to our wedding. He went to a hotel for tonight and said he will be leaving back home tomorrow. He's not really answering his phone or texting back. He says he needs to reevaluate our engagement, that he doesn't think he can marry me knowing that I approve of my parents' marriage style, that I wanted to manipulate him and introduce this lifestyle in our relationship. The truth is, I'm ashamed of my parents and their relationships, and I had no idea they would behave like this while my fiance is around, let alone sleeping in their house. He simply doesn't believe me because I haven't talked about it since I've met him. It's not something I find easy to talk about, and the less I think about it, the better. How can I talk with him? I have no interest in my parents' style of relationship. I am fully dedicated to my fiance, and I have never been interested in another person since I've met him. I don't want to lose him over this stupid thing, and I feel ashamed he had to find out about my parents like this. I'd have preferred he never knew. Plus, please, if you have any ideas, I'm interested in any suggestions. Okay, some relevant comments. Yeah, you let him learn about that in the worst possible way. I'm not excusing his behavior, but I get his reaction. You insisted on staying in their house, and you knew his past trauma. I would totally expect you to have told him by now you're engaged, and your parents very alternate to him lifestyle is a big issue. It's not your parents' responsibility to cater to his needs when it's their home and their actions are not a secret. You seem to not be understanding all that you should have. at all that you should not have hid it. And wanting him to never know is the wrong idea to begin with, and what got you into this mess. Stop hiding stuff like this and share it in a way that makes it clear you don't approve. I would have at least expected my parents to be able to control themselves, at least for a few days when we were supposed to be here, but I guess that was too much to wish for. I didn't necessarily hide this from him, but it never came out, and I'm so uncomfortable talking about it. It was never something I even thought mentioning. He doesn't talk about his mom that much. I learned what I did about her and how his parents' marriage ended from his sister, and honestly, I thought it would be nice to sleep in my old room and be there one last time before I get married. There were no malicious intentions here. I find it crazy because I'm like so open that and this is definitely a bad thing, and I'm so sorry to all my friends and my boyfriend, but I always like trauma dump. That sounds so bad saying it, but I always trauma dump because like I feel like if I say like the deepest parts of me, then like they will also share like parts about them, and then like we will connect faster with like friends and stuff. I don't know. Do I need to be looked at by like a psychiatrist or something for that? Because that's just how I feel. I feel like if I open up super quick with someone, then that will like make them feel comfortable to open up back. And like there are some things that obviously like I don't know, I feel like everyone has maybe some things from like when they were little that they just don't ever talk about. Like there are some things that I've never told anyone that I think about sometimes that were like weird in my childhood, but most things I'm pretty open about. Like I would say I'm a pretty open book. Like even with you guys, like I definitely overshare a lot on here, and I'm sure as the episodes go on, like I'm going to keep oversharing more and more just because that's just like in my nature. I don't know. Maybe it's not good because then like people can weaponize that against me and use that in like the wrong way. But I don't know. I'm just not really, I just look at it as like, yeah, this is like what happened in my life, and that's what makes me the way that I am, and I'm not really like ashamed of anything that's happened. Other than like sharing things that maybe affected me that like someone in my family has done because I don't want to embarrass them. Those are like some things that obviously I will only share with like closer friends, and if that makes sense, you know, like I don't want to put all my like parents in their like issues when they were getting divorced and stuff and why they got divorced. I mean, I don't care sharing why they got divorced, but like the nitty gritty of it that maybe is not, you know, I don't want to like put all their stuff on the blast them basically, because I just feel bad. Like I don't want anyone to ever think badly about my parents because I love them and they did the best that they could with what they had. So, yeah. But that's how I feel. Like I'm very much like, oh, if someone's like going through something and they like, I know that's the annoying part though too, is because some people are like hate it when someone is talking. I've heard people say like they don't like when they're talking to someone about something and then they relate it back to themselves with something similar that's happened to them, which is something that I do a lot. But like I don't feel like that's bad because I'm trying to like make them feel comfortable being like, oh, you're not alone, like this also happened to me and it's a very similar situation to that. And that's like I do that a lot because I want to make sure that people like when they're going through things like that, they can be like, okay, so this, like, I'm not weird and I'm not like I'm not the only person this has happened to. I'm not alone. And like, I don't know. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it in like a negative way of being like, oh my God, she always makes it about herself. I'm just like, I would much rather talk to someone who's been through something similar so that they can like tell me how they dealt with it, and then it can help me in the end, you know, processing things. But yeah, that's that on that. That's how I feel. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wait. There's some like There's a lot of comments, but okay. Honestly, you and your family couldn't have handled this worse. This is something you bring up before he meets them, especially with his issues. I mean, he is your fiance. When were you planning on telling him? He is thinking the apple doesn't fall from the tree, and it is hard to fault him given your insistence on staying there. Your mom's behavior and not getting a heads up beforehand. You gotta let him know with no effing hedging or omissions that you 100% do not want a lifestyle like this. Be direct, be honest, and be prepared for him to resent the S out of your parents for a while. Thanks. To be honest, he doesn't talk about his family either. I learned about his parents' divorce from his sister, which she already said, who is more comfortable talking about it. It never came into discussion. There was never a proper time to tell him and my parents that my parents F around. I guess before we came to visit here, sure. But I was thinking my parents would be on their best behavior while we were here. I guess mom had other ideas. I guess, I don't really think, I don't know. I guess everyone's different with the way that they deal with and share their trauma, but obviously if you're going to, I don't think you should excuse it being oh, well, he never talks about his family, so I'm not going to talk about mine. If you're going to stay with your family and you know that there is a possibility that he's going to find this out, then you should probably talk to him about it, but that's neither here nor there because that didn't happen. So there's not really any point in attacking and faulting her for not telling him, because obviously she's dealing with it in her own way as well. I mean, I can't imagine how that would affect a child growing up with parents like that, and I would not like that if my parents were behaving that way and had an open relationship, because that would really affect the way that I saw relationships and processed them. And that's just not for me. I know that people have successful relationships like that, but I just don't think that that is healthy in my personal opinion, and I would not really be okay with my parents doing that if they were still together, and I would not be okay with that in my own relationship either, ever. There's never a day in which I would be okay with having an open relationship, because that would be detrimental to my mental health. That would never happen. Okay, anyone who would shame you for A, something you're not responsible for, and B, isn't anything wrong, needs to grow up and accept there are differences in how people live their lives. What if you two had a child who ended up being LGBT or in a poly relationship? Would he freak out and kick them out of his life too? You're better off without a judgmental asshole like this in your life. What? I don't think he's being judgmental. I mean, I would feel probably the same way, not to be judgmental, but more to be this is what you think is normal because you grew up with this, and that is nerve-wracking when you're in a relationship, because obviously there are going to be traits that are passed down to you from your parents, and if you see toxic behavior or behavior that you think is toxic that maybe isn't actually toxic, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are relationships that are healthy like this, but to me, seeing a relationship with that would process in my brain as toxic, and I would just be well, I would probably be the same. I wouldn't shun my boyfriend and be ew, that's disgusting, but I would talk to him about it and be do you feel this affects you in any way, and do you feel it changes your outlook on relationships, and most importantly, do you feel you could ever see yourself wanting to be in a relationship like this, because that's not something that I am into at all, and I know for a fact that I will never be into that. So if you are thinking that in the future you're going to want a relationship like that, then it's best that we probably don't get married, because that's never going to be a thing for me, and we might as well not waste each other's times. Okay, OP commented back to that. With the risk of having the mods punish me, I have to say it. Your comment is incredible incredibly condescending and dumb, full of assumptions. My parents have spent more weekends with their partners than they did with their children. We were always offloaded to an aunt or to our grandparents Friday night, no exception, except birthdays and special occasions like that. Only when I got older and learned about their lifestyle have I understood what they were doing. My shame is not for how they lived their lives. My shame is for how they treated me, how they prioritized their own pleasure over the sake of mine and my brothers and my sisters. I don't have to accept their lifestyle because in doing so, I validate their behavior. I validate every minute we were robbed of a happy family life. I heard my parents fighting one time, my mother yelling they shouldn't have had 3 effing children. You see, having 3 children was a complication to how much time they had for themselves, how long they could spend with other people. Don't come and try to shame me, try pointing fingers at me, and play the homophobic card with me. How is that reflective on my parenting skills? I don't know, and I think you are projecting your own insecurities over my experiences. If that makes you feel better, power to you, but I am not falling victim to this game. And from my parents prioritize their own pleasure of the sake of their children over the sake of their children to you're homophobic is such a long jump. You must have superpowers to be able to so perfectly execute it. So yes, I am ashamed of my parents and I do not approve of their lifestyle. Had they been better parents, had they cared more about their children than their pleasures, sure, maybe we'd have a different conversation as we stand. No, we cannot. Okay. Sissy, that was a good response. Okay, OP provides 2 updates in the comments. I've already talked with him and I'm staying in the hotel room with him tonight since it's already paid for and it will be fun. Tomorrow we will move to my grandma's house until the end of the week. We came here to meet the extended family and that's what we will do. My parents have finally found it within themselves to apologize, but it no longer matters. For what it's worth, I didn't blame the situation on my parents when we met earlier. Aside from what my parents do in their spare time, I never had a secret from him. He knows I know about his mom, and I told him that if he ever wants to talk about her, I'm here to listen, and I understand why he avoids talking about her. He also apologized for his outburst and reaction, but he was honest and told me that he doesn't think he will be that close to my parents in general, and I'm fine with that, since I don't have that close of a relationship with them anyways. I have told him how much they hurt me, saying he needs to reevaluate. I've told him how much he hurt me, saying he needs to reevaluate our engagement, and he acknowledges he wasn't thinking when he spoke those words, and also said he regrets them so much. He was afraid he damaged our relationship. He didn't damage it, but I told him if I could predict the future, flowers is what I'd see. Haha. So that's it, pretty much. Okay, let's see. This is OP on why she never shared info of her parents' lifestyle to her fiance. He's met my parents several times. We are here to meet my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, stuff like that. We live in a different state. He's met some of them, but not all, and we wanted them to have an idea of who my fiance is, not to see him for the first time at the wedding. We've known each other for 9 years. The first 3 were more like acquaintances, friend of a friend type thing, and we would meet when everyone had a group meeting or a party or a birthday, etc. Then 6 years ago, we had a fight at a friend's. We were getting married announcement party, and we were really passionate and stubborn, and neither of us would give an inch. And a friend told us to kiss and make up already, and we did, and here we are. But this entire time, we've lived in our own state, where his family is, while my parents and the rest of my family are in the state we are currently visiting. I am being vague on purpose. I never planned to let him know about my parents unless it became a conversation item. It was never something I had to share or felt the need to do so. I don't like thinking about it. And this is a final update from OP. Thank you. I'm still reading through the comments because this thread has become way bigger than I expected. My parents did apologize, but they justified themselves by saying it was a planned night, which I find ridiculous as they have invited us to stay with them over a month ago. How far along into the future do you plan your fun nights? I refuse to think they planned their little indiscretion since more than a month ago. Bottom line is they knew that we would be there, they invited us, and they didn't care. The idea of not inviting them to the wedding started floating through my mind yesterday while reading the thread, but I am not sure what I'll end up doing. They are my parents, they are my responsibility. My fiance got to see them for who they are and how they are for himself. He now knows why I don't really talk about them. Aside from our little bump in the relationship the other night, we should be fine. We actually ordered 2 books from Amazon at the recommendation of other Redditors with all kinds of relationship tests and lessons. And we will maybe even go to therapy as a couple. This is not yet set in stone, but we'll see. Thank you for the kind words. Top comment. is why would the mom even think it was a good idea to invite a dude into her house when she knows her daughter and daughter's fiance are staying with them? Like, she couldn't postpone her date for a week or even simply meet at the date's place. It's like the alcoholic that claims their drinking doesn't affect others. Nope, mom doesn't sound like the kind of person who can put her daughter ahead of her own pleasure. Wouldn't be surprised if she even did it deliberately. Did you miss the part where OP told everyone that she usually got shipped off to families on Friday nights? It's not that mom sounds like that, it's that she is like that, as is the dad. I feel sorry for OP. She just wanted a normal night in her family home bedroom with her boyfriend, like how pretty much everyone starts, and yet again, her parents showed her how important she is to them. Sadly for OP, she got her normal parents and not her on good behavior parents. OP's parents are super effing sketch. How effing hard is it to say my daughter is visiting tonight? Let's do tomorrow instead. Yeah, I have a feeling that getting caught is part of the kink. Oh, okay, no. Well, I think I already said everything that I wanted to say about that story in between the readings, but yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I know that, like, I don't like to ever feel or like come across like I'm being judgmental about the way that like some people live their lives, because I know that I'm very like traditional, not very, but like I'm pretty traditional in life, in relationships, in friendships, and like stuff. So when, I don't know, it's just really hard for me to accept that polyamory can work. Like, it is very hard for me. And I don't want to come across as like super judgmental about it, but I just feel like a relationship is hard enough as it is, and like adding other people into the mix, I just can't see that being a healthy thing, and that's just my opinion. But obviously, I don't shame anyone for the way that they want to live their lives. It's not like I'm going to be like, ew, you're disgusting. I just wouldn't personally do that and can't like understand it, you know? Which I hope isn't coming off like that I'm shaming them. It's just very hard for me to understand. I have an open mind about a lot of things, but I guess because I feel like polyamory is not something that is common in my life, and I haven't experienced it like firsthand or even secondhand or even third hand. Like, it just seems so uncommon to me, which maybe it's not, maybe it's pretty common, but in my life and like around in my bubble, it's not a common thing. So since I haven't learned much about it, and I've just seen like a few on social media, polyamorous couples and stuff, I just don't have enough information to fully like develop a full like opinion about it, other than the fact that I just don't feel like it could work out, you know? But I'm very open-minded and want everyone to do what makes them happy, truly, as long as it's not like affecting other people like that, like how them doing that affected their children. That is just like wrong to me. Like, I just don't think that you should not be doing something that is so like detrimental on your children, you know? You shouldn't, I don't know. There's definitely a better way they could have gone about it. It just makes me sad that it has affected her so much, and yeah. So that's that. Let's read this. My new manager is someone I slept with years ago, and he doesn't know that we have a child. The backstory: I went back to university in my late 20s to do my PhD and shared an office with a few other students for many years. One of the students, Jacob, completed his thesis and was moving back to his home country, so we all went out for congratulatory farewell drinks. One thing led to another, and Jacob and I spent the night together. A few weeks later, I realized I was pregnant and I had no way to contact Jacob. His university email and mobile number had been deactivated since he'd left the university in the country. I didn't need anything from him and was fine to raise the child alone, but I thought he had a right to know. I Googled him a few times over the years, but never found him. This last week, our department had emailed everyone to introduce and welcome our new manager, Jacob, with a photo and a blurb about his education and work history, so I know for sure it's him. The night we spent together changed my life because it made me a parent, so I have thought about Jacob from time to time when my daughter asks about her dad, or I notice a genetic trait she didn't get from me. However, I doubt Jacob has given that night a second thought. I have no idea whether he will have any concerns about being my manager given our history, or whether I'm making a bigger deal than this than I should. For what it's worth, in my years of sharing an office with Jacob, he seemed easygoing and practical. In our company, it is common for everyone in the department to reply all to these introduction emails and introduce themselves, welcome the newcomer aboard, and explain how their role will interact with theirs. I'm not sure if I should email and note that Jacob and I studied together years ago as a way to get that out in the open, or should I email him individually and offer to have a discussion about keeping our history out of the workplace if he thinks it's needed? I'd appreciate any suggestions for language that indicates I'm not concerned and will be completely professional. And then, in direct contradiction to that, I'd also appreciate a script for a separate email saying, can we please meet outside of work because I need to tell you something important about our history, so I can tell him about his daughter. If you or any commoners think I shouldn't tell him, or I should let him settle in his new country and job first, I would definitely take that on board. I feel like I need to check and see where my boyfriend's at to see if he's going to scare me by walking in. Okay, then there's additional messages. Sorry, I'm just going to check where my boyfriend is. Where the hell is Find My Friends? Okay. There's additional information from OOP after Allison pinned her comment into the post. Thanks for your comment at the top, Allison. The extent to which I tried to find Jacob wasn't relevant to my question, so I didn't include the efforts I went to. For the comments who are curious, understandably, I really did try when I first found out that I was pregnant. I asked the other people we shared an office with, but no one had any information. We were students who shared an office and sometimes went to the uni bar together. We never spent any time outside of uni. I asked Jacob's thesis supervisor, but it was Christmas/Australian summer here, so he was on leave for 2 months. When he got back, he gave me the address on Jacob's file, which was of course the Australian address he didn't live at anymore. The uni had a next of kin Australian contact number on file for his aunt, but no one ever answered it when I rang. Jacob is Chinese with a very common surname, and Jacob is just the name he used in my country. I don't know his actual given name, so attempts to find the correct Mr. Wong in a country where they don't use Google or Facebook went nowhere. I searched for recent publications about Jacob's thesis topic and found a paper with Jacob Wong as one of the authors. I contacted the corresponding author and asked for Jacob's email, but they never responded. By this point, I had to give up because I was so sick with hyperemesis gravidarum and needed to focus on my baby's health. Wow, what is that? Never ever heard of that in my lifetime. Okay, my boyfriend is currently 10 minutes away, so we're good. Okay. There is an update 8 months later. Oh my god, June 11th. Excuse me. That was a week ago. Wow. Thank you for answering my letter. You were right. It was a really big deal. I was viewing the Jacob as my manager problem from his perspective until I told him otherwise. It was just a simple one-night stand over a decade ago, and it didn't seem like a huge problem. I hated and appreciated the reality check. I regret reading the comments, but thank you also for moderating them as quickly as you did. A lot happened in a short space of time. Thankfully, I already had a therapist. First, I spoke to my union rep who said, say nothing, but call us if HR tries to set up a meeting with you. Staying silent and having Jacob independently declare the prior relationship when he arrived would have been problematic because I'd still end up in the same position and I would have lied by omission. Our HR team can be gossipy and they know the age of my half-Chinese daughter, so I needed to have as much control as possible over the disclosure. I spoke to an employment lawyer who reviewed our policies, and at his suggestion, I wrote an email to HR declaring a prior relationship with Jacob, and then I was immediately pushed out. Even if you have all the legal support in the world, you can't pretend You can't prevent someone from doing something illegal. You just have to recourse afterwards. In a meeting with my lawyer, the union rep, HR, and a member of the senior management team, I was asked to resign. When I said no, they insisted on statutory declaration about the relationship with Jacob, stating what happened, when it happened, how many times it happened, and who initiated it. I also said no to that. We ended the meeting with each side agreeing to think about possible solutions. The company's solutions was to start messing with my pay, my benefits, my swipe card access to my office, my computer login, and my email calendar account. They spread rumors about me, and I heard coworkers whispering that I had an affair with the manager. They sent me for a random drug test at a time when I was scheduled for an important meeting with clients. They canceled accommodation that had been booked for upcoming travel, which I only found out because I was getting paranoid and called the hotel. I can't describe how awful it feels to know that someone with this kind of power over your job is devoting their time and energy to thinking of ways to screw with you. Every day I was going into work wondering what was waiting for me, and it was wearing me down fast. The advice from the union rep was to go back in time and follow their first piece of advice, or just keep documenting everything as we prepared to take legal action. The lawyer estimated that it would take at least a year to get any kind of resolution, and I didn't even want the job anymore. By this point, I wasn't sleeping much, and I have cried a few times at work. I was beginning to crack, and we were only just getting started, so I resigned. I wish I'd held up better under the pressure, but it was just all too much with looming deadline of Jacob's start date at our office, and whatever way HR was going to drag him into this. I'm lucky that I can take my time to look for a new job, so I've had some space to process everything. Outside the work stuff, I spoke with my family lawyer, who outlined all the possible ways this situation could go and what the most likely outcomes were. Basically, my daughter is old enough that what she wants would get heavily weighted by the court if it came to that. I've spoken to my daughter many times about her father. I told her what I knew about him and that I had tried to contact him. I've offered for her to see a therapist if she ever wanted to talk about it with someone who wasn't me, and she's always said thanks but no thanks. The family lawyer helped me write a letter, which I left for Jacob. I told him about his daughter, said I wasn't trying to get anything from him, and gave him the contact details of my lawyer. After a few weeks of me freaking out that HR had somehow intercepted the letter, he emailed my lawyer. He was the easygoing and practical Jacob I remembered. He was still processing it, but said he wasn't going to take any legal steps. He offered us his family medical history, and he apologized if I resigned because of him, and he said he would like to meet our daughter if she's interested. She's also has some siblings. I told her all of this. She said she's happy that she has her father's contact info, but she doesn't want to meet him right now. She's of the view that having him in her lives would cause unwanted disruption, and she doesn't even know about the work clusterfudge. Okay, that's really sad. Like, what? I hate that. They literally bullied her out of work. Like, I hate that. Why are companies like that? Why is it so hard to like find, like, HR is supposed to be on they're supposed to be like neutral, like doing what's best, but not bullying someone. Like, aren't they, or they're supposed to be for the employee. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're supposed to be for the employee, like standing up for what is right in like employee, like, what? They literally had a one night stand. She has a 9-year-old daughter or something. What can she do about that? Get rid of her daughter? Here, I'm just gonna place my daughter up for adoption because my manager, I slept with him and had a daughter 10 years ago. What? Excuse me? That's just crazy. Like, what can she do about that? Sorry. Was she supposed to just like keep it a secret, and then he like meets her daughter one day and then is like, oh wow, you have a half Chinese daughter, and we slept together about her age ago. So that really lines up. Like, he would obviously know, right? I mean, if he's not dumb, he'd be like, well, we slept together about 9 months before she was born, and she also is half of me, and she looks like me. 1 + 1 = 2. Like, he's gonna find out, so I don't understand. I mean, unless they just never, ever, ever interacted in any way possible. But still, like, I definitely think that if you're going to actually finally have the chance to tell someone that they have a daughter after you tried to look for them, and also tell your daughter that she could meet her father if she wants to, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty big piece of information that you need to have. Okay. That's the last story that we're going to read. I really want to try to make these episodes longer, but I always end up filming them like right before my boyfriend comes home, and then when he walks in, like, he's going to distract me. So like I can just not have that happen. And he also really likes to just be done with work by the time he likes me to be done with work by the time he gets home, because he just likes to spend time together. And he's always gets sad if like if I have stuff to do when he gets home and I still have stuff that I haven't done. He's like, oh, come on, like, it's supposed to be our time. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Comment what you thought about one of the stories or all of the stories. Tell me which story was like your favorite. And yeah, comment, please, because I love to talk to you. And like the video. Subscribe. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Love you guys so much. Bye-bye.